Well, welcome everybody this afternoon. We got a beautiful, somewhat windy day here in Chicago for any of you folks that are here in the metro area. Looks like we might get a little bit of storms later on this afternoon, but really beautiful weather so far, and looking forward to Labor Day weekend. Hope everybody's going to get a chance to take some time off. But today we're going to walk through the Peters and Associates HREmployee Self-Service Center. We developed this application utilizing Office 365 and SharePoint Online primarily, although it is also compatible with on-premise versions of SharePoint. And we really kind of focused in on, building an application that is targeted toward the concepts of self-service, not only for employees, staff members, for them to be able to access HR-related information, documents, tools, but to also perform different types of HR-related activities. But we also wanted it to be a self-service portal for HR staff themselves, to have a solution that the average HR staff member can manage without having to engage IT resources to help them in day-to-day activities. So this is really all about self-service activities around human resources. Little quick intro for myself. I am a solution architect with Peters and Associates. Been doing SharePoint development and design for about 15 years, and have been in the IT world, technology project management for over 20 years now. My role at Peters and Associates is really to help organizations solve business problems through technology, and this is what we're going to look at today, utilizing Microsoft SharePoint. So PowerPoints are, old and boring. I think it's a lot more interesting to work directly with the application. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of my presentation here, and we're going to jump right into our HR self-service portal. So again, as I had mentioned earlier in the presentation, this is an application that runs totally within Microsoft SharePoint. So it doesn't require any additional connections to other systems. It works totally within SharePoint itself, and can be installed on SharePoint Online, which is the majority of what we're doing our deployments on today, but is also compatible with SharePoint on-premise versions of SharePoint 2013, SharePoint 2016, and SharePoint 2019. So we offer our portal. Our portal is essentially a SharePoint site with a series of additional sub-sites that can be added for additional features, and we're going to take a look at all of those features today. We deploy the solution with a couple of different layouts. So we have what we call kind of our traditional department layout, is what we're looking at here, and this displays icons that employees can access for different types of workflow, HR-related workflow processes. They can see events related to the calendar. You can see we have some nice little pop-ups here where I can see what's going on that particular day, as well as upcoming events. You can see our Labor Day holidays coming up here next week. I can also access very easily HR policies and forms, and you can see that we have our forms organized with different designations to help users classify and locate this information. All of these tags, if you will, like general information, health savings account, so on and so forth, are totally configurable. So we provide a set of out-of-the-box tags, and you can change those or update them by yourself without any IT help. We also provide a section for HR quick links, so you can set up URLs to internal resources inside your organization. They can also point at things that are outside your organization. And again, the tags that we've used to organize all of this data are totally configurable. The other portions of our our department layout includes a employee search. So our employee search area works with the properties that are deployed through Active Directory. So what that means is that the information associated with a user's logon into the network and then potentially synced into Office 365, those properties such as email address, manager, title, phone number, department, there's a variety of different properties that you can update. All of that could be passed through in the background through Active Directory and then displayed potentially as data for employee information. And you can see that we have several different users presented here in the employee search. I can also search for employees based on their first or last name. And you'll notice as I was moving around in the employee search that it's popping up some additional information. So you can see now that it's showing some data related to materials, files, or other things that I might have been working on. I can also go directly to my profile in Office 365 utilizing Delve. So Delve is another application available in Office 365, again synchronized to information that is coming from your network user Active Directory properties. It also uses search in the background to allow you to see the relationships of an individual with documents that they might be working with, people that they are associated with, and other types of associated information. And again, all of these pieces, such as Delve, are automatically available in your Office 365 environment. In SharePoint on-premise deployments, the information can still be passed through utilizing Active Directory profile synchronization. We do have a birthdays and anniversaries section in our HR self-service portal. Again, this is information that the HR team can maintain as a list in the background of SharePoint. It can also potentially be tied to Active Directory information if you are populating these types of data. So this is our our department presentation or layout. We do have a second layout available, and we call this our Web 2.0 or Windows 10 page layout. And this consists of groups of icons, which still give you all of the same functionality that we saw in our department presentation or layout. So I can click through via any of these links into the tools that we looked at before, but this is all set up for more of just of a graphical interface. Both our department layout and our our Windows 10 layout are responsive design. What that means is that the page will adjust itself based on the device that you are accessing the application. So you can see as I simulate the concept of a smartphone, the page is reorganizing itself, and if I was to return to our department layout, we'll give you that presentation as well so you can see what that looks like in that mobile view. You can see how the components of the page have been laid out in a vertical presentation to make it easier to access through a smartphone. So you have the choice of either of these layouts for your particular deployment. All of the information in the background here is very easy to manage. We do that via Microsoft SharePoint lists and libraries. That means from a HR staff person's perspective, it's very easy to go in and be able to update information in the calendars or in the data. I'll give you a quick example of that. I'm just going to go in and update our HR calendar. So you can see we have some information here in the calendar. It's pretty easy for me to mouse over a day. Let's see, we'll just switch over maybe to September since we're kind of coming up on that. And I'm just going to mouse here and I'm going to add an event to my calendar. I'm going to go ahead and give this a title. This is our, we'll just say this is our sample event, and I can set my time frame. It's already understanding, hey, I clicked into the 4th, so it knows who that is, but I could change that time and say it's going to be, say, from 8 to 9. I can give it a description, assign a category, let's just say a meeting. Again, I have the capabilities of making this an all-day event or reoccurrence, and I can set some additional repeating display information. I'll just put that in here. And importantly, if you probably are looking at this little dialogue that I'm putting my event in, it looks very similar probably to Outlook, which you're probably already familiar with working with. So one of the great things about managing the data in the background of your HR employee self-service portal is that you're probably already very familiar with how to enter in the information because these all use kind of standard Microsoft dialogues. So I'm going to go ahead and save that particular piece of information, and there it is. There's now my sample event. So let's go ahead and go back. I'm going to go back to our department view, our department layout. And what I'm going to do now then is to walk through some of the other feature sets that are available as part of our HR self-service portal application. So the standard package or standard deployment includes your choice of either the kind of department style or Windows 10 style page layout. We can modify the presentation and the branding to include your corporate logo and your corporate colors. And it also includes all of the features that you see on this page. So your HR calendar, the tools to manage birthdays and anniversaries, libraries and lists to manage your policy or procedure documents, forms and quick links, configuration of the attachment to your Active Directory, and deployment and presentation of employee search information, and also the calendar. The final component that is deployed as part of the base package is our time off request, which is a SharePoint application designed to allow staff members to be able to submit vacation requests and have their manager or the designated person or persons approve that time off request. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the time off request functionality. Now I've got a couple of different sessions running with some test personnel, so we're going to switch back and forth. I'll try to make sure I'm identifying where we're at because sometimes it's a little muddy as to who's exactly what, but we're going to run through that. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to switch over to another user. His name is Test User 1, and I'm going to have them come into the Employee Self-Service Center and fill out a time off request. So if you can imagine kind of maybe a scenario here, what's really great about, in particular, in deploying this in Office 365 is that, let's say, for example, it's Sunday night, it's 8 o'clock at night, the baby's sick, I'm in immediate care. The nurse practitioners come out and say, well, the baby's got an ear infection, you're going to have to, give them drops and stuff, and there's just no way I'm going to make it into work tomorrow. I can log in securely to our self-service center utilizing Microsoft security through my smartphone. Again, the page would be responsive, so I can see the the logo and icon that I can click into, and there I can be sitting at the immediate care and fill out my time off request. So I'm just going to go ahead and click our time off request. So this is going to go ahead and launch the time off request form. So this is an online form that we've created. You have the ability, and we have a section here in the form that allows you to present your time off policy. Again, this is very easy, just text to type or copy in, and we help set that up for you. It recognizes, because I'm logged in as test user 1, that I'm pre-populated, and then I can set my time off start and end date. Let's say, just for example's sake, I'm going to need to take tomorrow off. So we'll go ahead and select in our calendar for the 30th. We can designate the number of hours requested. I'm going to go ahead and take a full day. We do make, as part of the application out of the box, the ability to say a half-day request and then identify if that's morning or afternoon. The reason for your absence, and we'll put in here, see, the baby is sick. And you'll notice that the application recognizes that my manager is another test account called test user 2. It also recognizes my department. So this is all that integration in the background with Active Directory. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save my time off request. So we'll give that a second to run, and come back to that in just a second. I want to show you a couple of other features. I'm going to go back over to my my regular account and go into time off requests. So one of the features that you have available in our time off request is the ability to configure the managers for your time off request presentation. Now we have a couple of options here. You can maintain managers and their backups through a SharePoint list, or we can appoint the time off request application at Active Directory property if you've populated the manager. So our manager backup functionality here in the SharePoint list allows us to identify for each individual user either a user or a group who is the manager or approver, and then a backup to that manager or group. So you can see in this case our couple of test users that we have, we've identified the manager and the backup manager, and then you have a response period. This allows you to control when the application should start sending reminder emails to the backup manager. So you can see for test user 2, that response period is 1 day. The application workflow by default will send a notification daily to the primary manager until that manager responds. So let's go back now that we've made our submission there from test user 1. I'm going to go into my mail. We're going to go to with test user 2. So let's go ahead and look at our mail here. We'll go back to our submission. So our time off request from test user 1, and we'll go into our mailbox here and take a look. Or did that go to test user 2? Sometimes there we go, there's test user 2. So I got an email as the manager of the time off request. So you can see there is our email that came through asking, there's the time off request, and I can link back to the time off request from my email. So you can see that I was able to return as the manager, see the information, and now you notice that there's a couple of additional fields here. I have a manager's approval, so I can say yes, and any comments that I might want to make, and I can go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead and we'll go back to our test user 1. Let's see if that email came through yet. Might take just a second here. Get that up. Okay, looks like it's running. But basically, the user will get that email coming in, letting them know that their time off request was approved. We do variations on the base package for our time off requests. So if I'm going to go back over here to our time off request home, a couple things that we can do here. We can modify field values. For example, we use a version of this time off request ourselves, and we recently added a field to allow users who were going out of the country to identify where they were going, so our security team would kind of be pre-warned that they're going to be out of the country in terms of managing access to our Office 365 tenant. We can also change and add fields, and again, we do have a hook at the back end of the application that can potentially output a transaction file that can be configured for ingestion or import into other types of HR systems such as ADP. Again, those are customizations. We typically make an estimate for the type of work that you're going to do, but we can definitely do that for you. So that's our time off request application. I'm going to go back here to our HR department self-service portal again. So that's the package, that's our base package, includes all the features of our self-service portal and then the time off request. We then offer additional applications for frequently requested HR work processes, again, related both for employees but also for HR staff. So what I thought we'd do is kind of run through a little bit of an employee life cycle to demonstrate some of the additional applications that we make available. So usually one of the challenges that HR staff runs into frequently is the process to onboard a new employee, right? So typically you've gone through the application process, you've interviewed the employee, they've potentially, they've accepted the offer, and now you need to set up for that employee to come in, get all the work processes done so they're ready to go on day one. That type of work could include anything from assigning a desk, getting that user a laptop or a PC, getting them a phone potentially, providing access to certain directories or applications, getting them keys, access. So there's typically lots of different activities around employee onboarding that need to be accomplished by a variety of people in the organization. And a lot of times the challenge for HR staff is being able to kind of understand where the status is in terms of making sure employees are all set up and ready to go on day one. So we've created an employee onboarding application that allows HR to be able to manage this process. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to bring up our employee onboarding application, and in the base subsite that we deploy for you, you have a employee change request, and again, this can be linked directly, say, to one of the icons on the HR self-service employee portal. I'm going to go ahead and click that employee change request to pop up our form. Give that just a second here to get up. And again, all of the components that we're looking at are totally within our SharePoint application. Oh, come on, should be popping up here. Let me try that again. There we go. So again, this is a SharePoint list. Again, all of this is totally within the application. And so we've pre-configured our form to allow you to set up for, three of the most common types of HR employee activities. The ideas of hiring a new employee, changing the position of employee, or terminating an employee. So depending on the particular type of request, the application will automatically update the form. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and fill out for a new hire. So it's going to pre-populate the date of request, that's today, and then I can select the date that the employee is expected to arrive. Let's just say that's going to be on the 23rd. I've pre-populated, because it knows it's me logged in, that Chris is making the request, and then I can provide for the application some information about the employee. So let's just call this one, let's see, Rick, and we'll go Derringer, and Rick is going to be, let's see, we'll just call him a developer, and we can identify the manager for that person. We'll just say that maybe that's going to be me again, and what department they're associated with. And again, I could fill out email address, access number. These are a couple of the fields that we deploy as part of the base package. You can add and modify these fields for you so that you have additional information for the initial hiring process. I'm going to go ahead and save this request. And we'll let that workflow start processing in the background. So while that's going on, I want to show you a couple of the features that are related to really helping HR staff be able to manage the onboarding process without having to engage IT staff if they need to make changes. One of the most important components of our application is a SharePoint list that allows the HR staff to describe all of the tasks that they need the organization to perform in order to onboard, change position, or terminate an employee. So this configuration list basically provides information to a processing workflow in the background. So as each user is onboarded into the system or changed position or terminated, the workflow will read information from this list and create tasks, send notifications, and provide information based on what the HR team has determined to be the work process. So let me show you one of our tasks here so you can get a better understanding of how this is configured. So I have a task called Send Welcome Email. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to edit this task so you can see the information that you have available. So as an HR staff member, you can designate exactly what the title of the task name is. It's simply a text field. You type in exactly what you want it to say. I have a description field. Again, this is a rich text box. You can see we've just got a little bit of text in here, but I can do custom formatting. I can insert images and URLs. I could describe a whole process here if I wanted to within my my description. I can assign this to a particular department. So why this is important is that if I identify that this is a task specifically associated with the accounting department, that would mean that this task will only be populated if that particular group is supposed to, this user is associated with this particular group or department. I can turn on, activate or inactivate a task. So there may be, say, a specific set of people, maybe a set of part-time consultants that you are processing. You don't want this particular task to be run when you're doing these part-time folks. You could actually temporarily turn it off and then re-enable it. We have the concept of a manager's task. What that means is that if I turn on the manager task, this task will automatically be assigned to the manager that was designated in the form. I can also then identify what request type this particular task should be associated with. In this case, it's a new hire. Could be a change of position or termination. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just cancel out of that just kind of show you. So what's really cool about this is that it allows the application then from a processing standpoint to be able to handle a variety of different scenarios, assign tasks across the organization. You have lots and lots of capability of creating a very diverse set of processes based on can be done by per department. It can be done by, do I need to have managers do it versus non-managers? It is absolutely possible to add additional request types. An example would be you want to send, have a set of processes for a particular training configuration. You could do something like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the outcomes of the application now that we've submitted that new hire request. Tasks are being generated in the background. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the task list. And you can see we have tasks related to earlier processing that was going on. We have a variety of views that we can take a look at, but you can see here that there has been some tasks deployed for this particular user, and all of these tasks were created and assigned based on the information in the configuration list. So you can see test user 2 has received some information. Test user 1, a group called HR group has been assigned a task as well. So if we go in and we look at, for example, test user 2, and we look at test user 2's mail, you can see that there was a task assigned called, we'll turn this off, employee onboarding application, saying send the welcome email related to new hire Jay Worthy. So you have a task there. Test user 2 can go out and send that welcome email. Then they can either go back to the task or through the task list itself and designate that they've completed that particular task. So we'll give this just a second to pass through. These run a little bit slow here today. Go ahead, so back on that task list, basically can come in and mark down that that email has been, or the send a welcome email task has been completed. Importantly for the HR team is that they have a central view of all of the ongoing tasks that are out there, so it's very quick and easy for the HR staff to monitor, are all the tasks being completed, when those are due, all the work that needs to be accomplished there. So there is, makes it pretty quick and easy for the HR team to manage all that onboarding work and be able to kind of know where the ball's at. So let's go back to our department homepage again for the portal, and now that we've onboarded the employee, we've got all that information going there, and we're they're ready to start the first day. Typically, here's the employee. They come in, they sit down at their desk, and usually there are tasks and paperwork that the new hire person is going to need to fill out. So we have an application called our new hire portal, which allows the HR team to be able to set up, again, a series of tasks and information related to that kind of first day, first week set of workloads that the newly hired employee is going to have to accomplish. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So our new hire portal has interfaces for the new person that's come on board. It also has an administration portal for our HR team to monitor the accomplishment of tasks for that user related to, say, filling out paperwork, doing other types of associated tasks. Similar to our employee onboarding application, we have a configuration list in the background of the application that allows the HR team to configure a set of tasks for that new hire. So we have a series of tasks here that we put in for demonstrations. You can see some ideas of filling out a 401k form, direct deposit, federal W-4, those types of things. And again, the workflow in the background of processing a new hire reads against this configuration list and creates the appropriate tasks for that new hire person. Let's go ahead and edit one of these so you can see the information that you have to control within the new hire application in this particular task. Again, you can identify the specific title of the task. In this case, it's a 401k beneficiary form. You have a description field similar to what we saw on the onboarding application. And you can put in links. You can have the user click to URLs or documents that you might be storing in the document libraries in the Employee Self-Service portal. You can set times to completion. In this case, we default to complete first day, within the first week, or just information to review. Again, this is configurable, so you can have other timelines identified. Again, activate and deactivate the task if there is a specific document that you want to associate with this particular form. You can attach it via the URL link list. You also have the ability to have the application just basically send an email for information or present that and not create a task itself. So pretty quick and pretty easy for the HR team then to create all of the information. One of the advantages of this type of configuration, particularly in pointing the user, say, to a document that you're storing in the HR self-service portal, is that you can manage that document in the portal, update the document and resave it under the same file name, and it will ensure that the user who's being onboarding is getting the most current version of that particular form. A lot of HR onboarding processes or new hire processes sometimes suffer from paper copies that have been placed in a packet and not noting that that particular document should have been replaced by a new version. By simply linking the user to that document directly, you've bypassed that problem of having outdated paper forms that the user is going to fill out. So again, the other thing that's really great about this is actually setting up for a new hire. So if we have that new person coming in, I went to the wrong one there. Let's go to our document setup list. It's simply a matter to add another user into the processing. All the HR staff has to do is enter the user's name, the date they're joining, and then go ahead and save that particular item, and the workflow will automatically kick off with that. So you can see we've got a couple of those out there. I've set up for test user 1 as an example. If we go to test user 1's email box, you'll see that the application or the solution has sent test user 1 a series of tasks. So what's also really cool about this application is potentially once the user has been added to your Active Directory, you could potentially send out tasks to that user before they actually come in on the first day. Obviously, this implies that you're going to go ahead and give them the appropriate licensing, a login and password to the solution, but they could potentially get emails from you and start filling out that data before they show up the first day. So we'll just take a look at here, just give you an example. Here is from the new hire portal. As part of the onboarding process, you've been assigned a task federal W-4. This will actually point the user to the electronic copy of that federal W-4. They could start filling that out. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back now that we've got our user filling out the new hire documentation. Again, we've configured the new hire portal as well. If we go back really quickly to the home page and look at the administration portal. Give that a second here to come up. The HR team can monitor the new hire's progress in filling out their documentation. So you can see here is test user 1 and their pending first day tasks. I can open that up and I can see here in the admin portal that test user 1 has been assigned 4 tasks for the first day, and currently none of those, you can see the status of those, none of those have been started yet. So it allows us in almost real time to be able to monitor the document setup, completion, or other tasks that you've assigned to that new hire. So let's go ahead and go back to our Employee Self-Service Portal homepage. So now we've got the employee, we've onboarded them, we've got them hired, they're now working, they could have potentially already filled out some time off requests, but from the end user's employee, that new staff employee, they have a couple of additional solutions or applications that they can work with. One of these is our employee change of information form. So this is to address, kind of those frequent changes that occur for employees that have been with the organization, changing personal contact information, dependents, may have had a baby, needed to change or add beneficiaries. So our change employee information form provides a online form to allow employees to be able to come in and describe changes and make that available to the HR team. So when I open up our form, it asks me what type of change do I want to make. I can change my address, emergency contact information, add or update dependents, and beneficiaries. And again, the application will change its presentation depending on the types of information we need to select, say beneficiary, dependent. So I'll just go ahead, I'm going to change my emergency contact information. It recognizes me, I've logged in. I'm just going to go ahead and put this as information technology, and I'm going to change this, and we'll just say this is Terry Jones. You can see that's my spouse. I can provide contact information, 630-592-6000. Emergency contact information for an IM number, because a lot of folks nowadays want to get a text, email address, as well as any notes that I want to make in regards to that emergency contact change, and I can go ahead and save that. So what the application will do in our out-of-the-box configuration is that it can assign a task to HR. We can also very easily configure this if they supply a specific assignment. It can send that task over to them. It can also email your HR team to make that particular change. We do again have a kind of a hook at the end of this application that does allow us to output a transaction file, which might be imported into another HR system to designate those particular changes. And again, that is a custom modification. We typically estimate that on a job-by-job basis, but it is possible to have data flow from this into the system. All right, so let's go back to our HR department portal. So we've looked at, time off requests, employee change of information, our onboarding and new hire portal. So finally, let's take a look at our final application, which is our employee performance review. So our performance review application, again, is a totally online app. We worked with a couple of different HR groups to put this together, and it's really designed to manage the whole life cycle of performance reviews. So if you kind of think about it in a life cycle term, typically, the organization is going to start out by identifying goals for the organization, department, and then employee goals, and then make those goals set up for each employee, and then have the employee work toward those goals over the typically over the year. In a perfect type of scenario, the manager is going to do a couple of periodic reviews towards to see how the employee is working towards the goals. Are they on target and those things like that. And then typically at the end of the year, or the start of the following year, there's going to be performance reviews in which the employee and the staff member, the manager or HR is going to review those employees' goals and their progress towards those goals, whether they accomplish them or not. So the application is really designed to provide features for an organization to help manage all of these aspects. So the first thing is the idea of goal setting. So one of the things we heard from some of the organizations that we worked with is that they would like to have the ability to align individual employee goals with department goals and then overall organization goals. So we've created a application component to allow an organization to do that. So each year, typically, the organization is going to create their corporate goals. So we have a series of corporate goals here that have been put in place over the last couple of years. Pretty quick and easy for for the executive team or the administrative assistant to the executive team after they've decided what they're going to do to enter in the goals. This just give you the field values here. I already have some goals set up for 2019. Let's just say we'll just edit this one real quick so you can see what that looks like. So this is increase the security practice revenue by 8%. They've described that, and this is for the 2019 year goals. I can then associate to that corporate goal department goals. Again, the same kind of idea there. You can see we have a variety of goals here that have been configured over the years. We have, for example, here there is a goal here. Let's go ahead and edit that one for the department, and we'll edit that link so you can see it. So the title of the goal is 4 BI seminars in 2019. This has been assigned for the goal department for the sales department, and it's been associated with a corporate goal, increase business intelligence revenue by 14%. So the application, this data allows the application to understand the relationship between corporate and department goals. And ultimately, as individual employee goals are associated with these corporate goals, we can see that information through our custom corporate goals roll-up web part. So again, this is security trimmed so that only the people that have rights to can actually see this information. I can look at prior year corporate goals. So you can see here in 2018 and 2017, we had different goal setting. If I go back to 2019, I can then drill down on our corporate goals and see how the relationship works between departments and individual goals. So if I open up my increased business intelligence revenue by 14%, I see two department goals, one for HR and one for sales. And I can see here that Shraddha, one of our employees, has a goal associated with creating those 4 BI seminars in 2019. So what's great about this is that in a drill down scenario, I'm able to see the direct relationship of employee goals to department and corporate goals. The next component that we put in place for the application is the ability to create a performance review schedule. So what this means is that HR can go in and they can identify a set of dates and times that will present to the rest of the organization the schedule for the performance review life cycle. And I have the ability to go in as an HR person, and I can create my goals or my notification schedule. Again, I'll just go ahead and open up one of these so you can see it very quickly. So I have the title of this particular schedule is Start Compensation Reviews. I can add information about that particular schedule of starting the compensation, when that should start, who should be the recipients of that. Do we want to send that as just an email notification or assign tasks? We have that option, and when that's due. So this allows the application to generate emails and notifications based on a schedule that HR has put together. So this helps everyone move through that performance review lifecycle. The application also includes a calendar that is typically used by HR and the management team to schedule those performance review sessions, you know, kind of the mid-year review session or the end of the year performance review. So this works very similar to what we showed you in the time off, or I'm sorry, in the calendar for the HR self-service portal. Super easy for me to add meetings into the application. Importantly, I can ask attendees through this form. So this is a little different than the regular calendar form, and the application will send a meeting notification that can be accepted through Outlook. So I can set up my performance review schedule. Either the managers can do this or HR can do it, and then those meetings will also be posted into the user's Outlook calendar to make sure that everybody gets together. So the final component of the performance review application is to actually manage the performance reviews themselves. So typically what's going to happen on a year-to-year basis is that the managers and or HR is going to create an individual performance review for each user. Again, all of this it can be security trimmed, so only HR, the manager, and the employee can see an individual item. This is an all online application, so we'll go ahead and open this up so you can see an example of it. So this is a representative performance review for Shraddha. Again, you can see the manager, the title, position, fiscal year, the department that she's with. It also presents the performance review schedule, so that in the performance review you can refer to this in terms of the schedule that was supposed to happen in the meetings, and then get into the performance goals. So the application allows the employee and or the manager to create multiple goals. So you can see here we have currently in here a new test goal that's been tied to the 4 BI seminars in 2019 department goal, and it shows information about what the goal is and potentially performance toward the goal. Very easy to create additional goals. Again, I can, because it knows the department, I can select this and say, okay, tie this to this department goal. We'll just do this quickly. Another department goal, strata, information on how to meet the goal, and I can save that. And then that goal, if I refresh, give that a second to come up. And that should be, get our goal here, schedule, presentations. There's the department goals showed up. The manager has the ability to rate the goals. We have ratings based on meets, exceeds, and below expectation, or you can do a number system, ratings 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Either configuration, and then the same basic concept of an overall rating and performance review. We also provide the capability for the employee to acknowledge that they received their review, and then also to generate a hard copy PDF if you need if you want to do like a formal signature and have a piece of paper for retrieval. So a lot of stuff to cover in about an hour. Thanks for your time today.